Engines are measured in horsepower, but have you ever wondered how many horsepower a horse actually has? Spoiler alert, it's not one.
Today you will learn why we measure engines in horses, how many horses are trapped inside your lawnmower, how strong the most powerful horse in the world is, why 1 horsepower doesn't always equal 1 horsepower, how a person can be as strong as a horse, and how many horsepowers are hidden inside the world's strongest athletes.
Let's look back a bit into the history. A long time ago, a guy called James Watt, the steam engine guy, wanted to explain his engines in a way people would actually understand. But why horsepower? Where did we get that? Because he needed a catchy way to sell his steam engines. And since horses were the machines of the day, he compared his engines to horses and tied the engine output to a horse's work rate. Horsepower is just a way to measure how much work something can do in a certain amount of time. What work did the horses do? He observed mine ponies, small horses that worked in coal mines. Their main job was to pull coal-laden buckets or wagons out of the mine shafts using a rope and pulley system. Essentially, a horse would walk in a circle, turning a capstan, that is a kind of winch, which lifted the coal. Back to Watt. Watt observed their work rate, did some math, and defined horsepower as a standard unit. He noticed that a strong horse could pull with enough force to lift 550 pounds 1 foot, about 250 kilos, lifted 30 centimeters off the ground in 1 second. That became the definition of horsepower, which does not just yet tell us that a horse has 1 horsepower. I'll explain why in a bit, but first, bear with me. If a machine has 10 horsepower, it can do the work of 10 strong horses in the same time. Think of it like this. Horsepower is how fast and how strong something works at once. A lawnmower might have about 5 horsepower. A family car engine has between 150 and 200 horsepower, while a sports car somewhere between 400 and 700, while hypercars can exceed 1000 horsepower. And the horse? That, my friend, you'll find out in the end. Today, you'll see engine power written in 2 ways: kilowatts and horsepower. Horsepower is the old imperial unit, like miles and feet, while kilowatts are the modern metric one. Just like kilometers and miles, they convert quite neatly. 1 kilowatt equals roughly 1.34 horsepower. 1 horsepower equals 0.746 kilowatts. Then there's the jargon. If you've ever been interested in cars or motorcycles, you will have heard the following. Brake horsepower, or BHP. That is power measured at the engine's crankshaft, with all its accessories running. That is before some of the power is stolen by the moving parts after the crankshaft, like the drivetrain, bearings, and all that jazz. Then we have wheel horsepower, or WHP. That is the power that actually reaches the tire after the gearbox, chain, or other kinds of drivetrain, and the bearings eat up 10 to 25%. So when a vehicle advertises 300 horsepower, you might actually get roughly 250, maybe 270 at the wheel. I'm about to tell you how many horsepower there are in a horse. But how can I not mention the ultimate iron horse? Drum roll! The Kawasaki H2R. This absolute beast makes about 310 horsepower at 14,000 revs at the crankshaft. Brake horsepower. On the wheel, no less staggering 260. My dad's car has a tad over 100. But it weighs 6 times as much as the Kawa. Now to the bit of info you've all been waiting for. An actual horse does not line up neatly with that number, 1 horsepower. A horse walking steadily, pulling a plow, around 1 horsepower. Real horses couldn't sustain that output all day. In reality, a horse could keep up around 0.7 to 0.8 horsepower steadily, with brief bursts above 1 HP. The same horse, however, sprinting flat out 10, 12, even 14 horsepower for a few seconds. Think of a horse like an engine. At low revs, it can plod all day. At high revs, it can explode with power, but only briefly. So, what does horsepower feel like in everyday life? How many horsepower does a human have? When you're climbing upstairs with heavy groceries, the faster you do it, the more horsepower you're producing. On the bench press, push 100 kilos once in 2 seconds, and you've made about 1/3 of a horsepower. explode it up in 1 second, that's 2/3 of a horsepower. Elite lifters in a single rep can burst past 1 full horsepower. On a bicycle, a Tour de France rider cranks about half a horsepower for an hour. A sprinter can spike up to 2.5. So how many horses are we, really? An average healthy person, while walking or jogging, sustains about 1/10 to 1/4. Mr. Bolt, at his peak sprint, 3 to 4 horsepower for just a few seconds. Olympic rowers or lifters can go up to 5 or 6 horsepower, but only in short bursts. Humans fade fast. Engines and horses, though, can keep grinding for much longer. Right, so horsepower isn't really about horses at all. It's about measuring work over time, and the only reason why it's horsepower is because horses used to do that work over time, and people understood horses. A horse doesn't have exactly 1 horsepower, and a human barely brushes it except in short bursts. But thanks to James Watt's clever framing, we still measure our machines in horses today. From your car to your bike to your own body at the gym, it all comes down to horsepower. If you've made it till this point of the video, I really appreciate you, my friend. If you want to show that you also appreciate me, that's not hard. All you need to do is give this video a like, obviously subscribe to the channel if you still haven't done it, and if you don't want to leave just yet, which I hope you don't, then you don't have to. Just click this video over here. I've made it especially for you, my friend. So I'm not saying goodbye, I'm saying see you over there.